The first sign was not lightning. It was silence. On a warm Tokyo night, a thin black line opened across the sky above a row of office buildings. It looked like a cut in the air. No thunder came with it. No wind. The traffic below kept moving for one more second, like the city did not notice it yet. Then the line widened. A pressure wave rolled outward. It hit glass first. Windows rattled. Street signs shook. A few people stopped walking and looked up at the same time, as if their bodies felt it before their minds did. Officer Tanaka was on foot patrol near a crosswalk. He had been thinking about nothing important. The Kira case made everyone nervous, but nervous was normal now. Tokyo had learned how to live with fear. This fear felt different. Tanaka's hand went to his radio. He did not speak yet. He just stared up as something fell from the black tear. A man dropped out of the sky like he had stepped off a high ledge. He landed on the rooftop of a low building near the street. He did not crash through it. He did not stumble. He landed clean, like his feet already knew where solid ground would be. A ripple moved behind his shoulders. Wings flashed out, white at first, then edged with faint gold, like a light hidden under skin. They were huge. They took up almost the whole roof. Then, in a second, they folded away and were gone, like they had never been real. People screamed anyway. Phones came up, cameras pointed. Someone shouted, "Angel." Someone else shouted, "Devil." Tanaka raised his pistol because training took over. His voice came out rough. "Hands where I can see them. Get down on the ground." The man looked down from the roof. His face was calm, not scared, not angry, almost bored, like someone had asked him to fill out a form. He leaned forward a little, as if he was listening for something under the noise of the city. Then he smiled. "No," he said, soft and clear. Tanaka's partner fired first. 2 shots, then 3 more. The sound cracked through the street. Tanaka fired too. He did not want to, but he did. The bullets rose toward the man's chest and stopped. They hung in the air, right in front of him. 5 pieces of metal, frozen like they were stuck in clear glue. The screaming cut off in the same moment, not because people calmed down, because their throats went dry. Tanaka could still move. He could still breathe. But the world felt wrong, like time had slowed down only where it wanted to. The man walked forward on the roof, stepping through the frozen bullets like he was stepping through rain that refused to fall. He reached out with 2 fingers and gently tapped one bullet. Time snapped back. All the bullets dropped straight down and clattered on the roof like coins. The man did not even flinch. He did not look at the police anymore. He looked over the street, then up at the sky again, as if he was checking if the tear would return. A teenager near the front pushed too close, trying to film. He slipped off the curb and fell into the street, right as a taxi swerved around the crowd. Tanaka saw the taxi's headlights swing toward the boy's body. He ran, but he knew he was too far. The strange man lifted one hand. The taxi stopped, not with brakes, not with a skid. It stopped like someone paused it. The driver's face stayed frozen in a panic. The tires stayed still. The horn stayed stuck in a silent shape. The man stepped off the roof and down into the street without jumping. He just descended, as if gravity was a rule he could lower the volume on. He walked to the boy, picked him up by the back of his jacket like a parent grabbing a child, and set him on the sidewalk. The boy burst into tears. The man crouched so his face was level with the boy's. He spoke gently, like this was the most normal part of the night. "What do you truly desire?" he asked. Tanaka blinked. It was such a strange question. The boy sniffed, shaking. His eyes flicked to the cameras, to the police, to the frozen taxi. I don't want to die," the boy said. The man nodded once, like he respected that answer. Then he stood and made a small motion with his hand. The taxi moved again, rolling forward slowly like nothing had happened. The driver screamed and hit the brakes this time. The taxi stopped for real, tires squealing, and the driver stumbled out, shaking. Tanaka's radio crackled with voices asking what was going on. Tanaka did not answer. He could not stop staring. The man's gaze shifted, not to the police, not to the crowd, to empty air beside a streetlight where no one stood. Tanaka followed his eyes and saw nothing, just the humid night. The man's smile sharpened, like he had found the one person in the crowd who was not pretending. "Hello," he said, speaking to nothing at all. "I know you're there." A laugh answered, low, amused. Tanaka heard it. He spun toward the sound, confused. People around him looked unsettled, like they had heard something too but could not place it. In the empty space near the streetlight, a tall shape appeared only for a moment in Tanaka's mind, like a bad dream trying to become real. But for the strange man, it was not a dream. A Shinigami hovered there, grinning wide. Ryuk's eyes narrowed with interest. This was new, and the man in the street tilted his head like he was greeting a neighbor. "Now," he said calmly, "tell me, what are you?" By morning, Tokyo had turned the rooftop video into 100 different stories. Some clips were shaky, some were clear, some were edited into nonsense, but the important parts stayed the same. A winged man, bullets stopping, a taxi freezing in place, and one other detail that bothered people even more than the wings. He did not look surprised by anything. At a quiet hotel room with the curtains drawn, Light Yagami sat at his desk and watched the footage again. He played the clip in slow motion, then slower. He kept his face blank. He had trained himself to do that. But inside, his mind ran fast. This man was power. Real power. Not the kind you had to hide in a notebook and use through rules. Not the kind that took time. Light's fingers tapped once against the table, controlled and silent. He glanced to the side. Ryuk lounged near the window, invisible to the world, biting into an apple with a loud crunch. Light did not look at him for long. He hated giving Ryuk too much attention. Ryuk was a risk. Still, Light's voice stayed calm. "Do you know what he is?" Light asked. Ryuk chewed and shrugged like a lazy cat. "Nope," Ryuk said. But he looked at me. Light's tapping stopped. That was not supposed to happen. Light leaned back slightly, eyes narrow. "So he can see you," Light said. Ryuk smiled wider. "Or he can see more than me," Ryuk said. "Either way, this world just got way more fun." Light did not smile back. Fun was not the goal. Control was. Elle watched the same clip in a room full of screens, cables, and quiet people trying not to breathe too loudly. Watari stood behind him with a tray, but Elle was not eating. He was crouched in his chair, toes on the cushion, fingers pressed together under his chin. He replayed the moment where the bullets froze, then the moment where the taxi froze, then the moment where the man spoke to empty air. Elle's eyes moved, small and quick. He did not speak for a long time. Finally, he said, "This is not Kira." One of the task force members exhaled, like he had been holding his breath for an hour. "So it's another criminal?" Matsuda asked, too fast. Elle's gaze stayed on the screen. "It may not be human," Elle said. Soichiro Yagami's jaw tightened. "Then we treat him carefully," Soichiro said. "We do not shoot first. We do not cause panic." Elle's face did not change, but his voice did. "We will observe," Elle said. "We will test. And we will prepare." Aizawa frowned. "Prepare for what?" Elle paused the video on the winged man's eyes. The eyes were calm. The eyes were amused. "Prepare," Elle said quietly, "for the possibility that he is not here by accident." They found him 2 days later in a place that made no sense. Not hiding in an alley, not on top of a tower, not in some secret base. He was sitting in a small public park, on a bench, watching pigeons. He wore a simple dark suit, like a rich man going to a meeting. No blood, no dust, no sign he had come from a tear in the sky. A child kicked a ball too close to his shoes. The child froze in fear when he looked up and recognized the face from the news. The man smiled at the child and gently rolled the ball back with his foot. The child ran away, heart pounding, and the man went back to watching pigeons like he had all the time in the world. Elle approached with Soichiro and 2 task force members. They stayed calm. They stayed at a polite distance. No guns pointed. No shouting. No sudden moves. Elle stopped a few steps away. He did not offer his name. The man looked up. His eyes scanned them in one calm sweep, like he was reading their habits instead of their faces. "So," the man said, voice smooth, "you're the ones who sent the cameras." El did not blink. "You noticed," El said. "I noticed many things," the man replied. "You watched me, you feared me, and you tried to label me." Soichiro stepped forward half a step. "People are scared," Soichiro said, "because they don't understand you." The man's gaze moved to Soichiro. It softened, just a little. "Ah," the man said. "The father." Soichiro's face tightened. "Excuse me?" The man smiled like he had said something obvious. "You carry duty like it weighs something," he said. "That makes you rare." El's fingers twitched near his knee. He kept his posture the same. "What are you?" El asked. The man leaned back on the bench, relaxed. "I could ask you the same," he said. "You are human," El said. "You are in Tokyo. You broke physical rules in public." The man's smile returned. "And yet," he said, "you think the strangest part is the physics." El held his gaze. "What is the strangest part?" El asked. The man looked past them at a couple arguing near a vending machine. He watched their faces, their hands, their tension. Then he asked, like it was a casual joke, "What do you truly desire?" The arguing couple froze mid-sentence. The woman's eyes went wide. Her mouth opened. "I want him to stop lying," she blurted, voice shaking. The man jumped back like he had been slapped. "I want her to stop acting like she owns me," he snapped. Both of them stared at each other, shocked by their own words. They looked embarrassed, angry, hurt. Then, as if waking up, they grabbed their things and hurried away without speaking. Matsuda stared. Did you do that?" Matsuda asked. The man turned his head toward Matsuda, amused. "I removed their mask," he said. "I did not put words in their mouths." El watched closely. "So you can force truth," El said. The man's eyes sharpened. "No," he corrected. "I can invite it." Soichiro swallowed, uneasy. "Why are you here?" Soichiro asked. The man looked up at the sky like he was checking the color of the day. "Curiosity," he said simply. El's voice stayed flat. "About Kira." The man's smile turned slow. "About you," he said. "About this city that pretends it is safe while it worships a killer." Soichiro's face hardened. "Kira is not worshipped by everyone." "No," the man agreed. "Only by the ones who want a shortcut to justice." El stepped closer, just one step. "What is your name?" El asked. The man met his eyes. "I have many," he said, "but you don't get them for free." El did not react. "What do you want?" El asked. The man's grin widened. "Now you're asking the right question," he said, "but not the best one." He leaned forward slightly. "What do you truly desire?" he asked El. The air felt tight for a moment. El's pupils did not change. His face did not move much, but his voice, when it came, was a fraction quieter. "I want the truth," El said. The man nodded once, satisfied, as if he had expected that. Then he turned and looked directly at Soichiro. "What do you truly desire?" he asked. Soichiro's throat tightened. He did not like this game. "Still," he answered. "I want my son to be safe," Soichiro said. The man's eyes flickered, quick, like something inside him noted the weight of that. Then he stood from the bench. "I'll make you a deal," he said, casual as a man offering a handshake. "You can keep watching me. You can keep building little plans in your little rooms." El said nothing. "But," the man continued, "if someone tries to chain me, I will show you what chains mean." Matsuda's mouth went dry. Soichiro kept his voice steady. "We are not trying to chain you. We are trying to stop a murderer." The man's smile faded into something colder. "A murderer," he repeated. "With a book." El's eyes narrowed. "You know about the notebook," El said. The man looked back at him. "I know there is a rule system on this world," he said. "A death system. It's loud." Ryuk floated behind a tree nearby, unseen by everyone but the man and Light, if Light were here. Ryuk's grin was smaller now. He looked bothered. The man's gaze shifted again. to empty space, like he could sense Ryuk, even when Ryuk tried to hide. Ryuk froze, then laughed like he had planned it. The man looked back at L. "I will stay close," the man said. "Not because you asked." L's voice stayed calm. "Then why?" The man's eyes held a sharp, amused light. "Because someone here thinks he is a god," the man said, "and I want to meet him." Soichiro's stomach dropped. L's face did not change, but his mind moved fast. Kira. He meant Kira, and he said it like he could already see through the case. L spoke carefully. "If you involve yourself," L said, "you will make everything more dangerous." The man smiled again. Like danger was the point. "Everything is already dangerous," he said. "You've just been pretending you're in control." He turned to leave the park. As he walked, a pigeon fluttered too close to his head, startled by his movement. Without even looking up, he lifted one hand. The pigeon slowed gently and drifted away like a leaf, falling straight down. Matsuda whispered, "This is insane." Soichiro watched the man go, feeling the chill in his bones. L stared after him and thought one clear thought. If Kira can't control him, Kira will try anyway. And that meant blood. That night, the first wrong death started. Not heart attacks, not car crashes, not clean, single names on a list. People collapsed in crowds. A train platform in Shinjuku, a small hospital waiting room, a quiet office building. It wasn't one person at a time. It was groups. Doctors later said it looked like panic, like shock, like bodies giving up without a clear cause. But L watched the timing and knew panic did not move like this. He sat with Watari and the task force in the HQ. The room felt smaller with every new report. "This is not Kira's method," Aizawa said. L nodded once. "So we have a second actor," I'd said. Or a second system, L thought. He did not say it yet. He turned to the newest security feed. The winged man had been seen near 2 of the locations earlier that day, but he had not touched anyone. He had not threatened anyone. Still, people blamed him. People always blamed what they could see. Soichiro rubbed his forehead. "We need to speak to him again," he said. L's voice was quiet. "No," L said. "We need to find what he can't see." Ryuk drifted over Tokyo with a lazy ease, following the scent of chaos like it was candy. He expected to feel amused. He did not. The air felt wrong, even for a Shinigami. Thick, tight. It felt like the Shinigami realm was leaning closer. Ryuk landed on the edge of a rooftop and looked down at a crowd gathering around an ambulance. A human cried, begging the paramedics to save her father. Ryuk usually liked this part. The drama, the noise, the fear. But tonight, something else was layered over it. A pressure. A warning. Ryuk's grin faded. He glanced toward the dark sky. "Seriously?" Ryuk muttered. Then he felt it. A presence, far away but coming fast. Not like a Shinigami passing through. Like a Shinigami sent with a purpose. Ryuk clicked his tongue. This is going to get messy. The winged man found the first cluster scene before the police even locked it down. He walked through the crowd like the air moved aside for him. People stepped back without knowing why. Some shouted, some prayed, some filmed. He stopped near a woman sitting on the pavement, shaking, her hands covered in someone else's blood. He crouched beside her. She looked up at him with wet eyes. "You did this," she whispered. His face stayed calm. "No," he said. She shook her head fast, like denial was a weapon. "You're the devil," she said. He smiled, small and sharp. "Labels again," he said. "They make you feel safe." He looked at her with steady eyes and asked softly, "What do you truly desire?" Her mouth opened. The truth spilled out before she could stop it. "I want this to be someone else's fault," she said, voice breaking. "I want it to be simple." His expression softened, just a little. "Of course you do," he said. He stood, and then his head turned. His eyes lifted toward the roofline across the street. Something unseen moved there, like the night itself had shape. He smiled like he had been waiting. "Well," he said quietly, "there you are. El arrived minutes later, riding in a plain car with Soichiro and Aizawa. Sirens were already in the area. El stepped out and immediately felt the crowd's fear. He didn't like crowds. Crowds hid things. He looked for the winged man. He found him standing still in the middle of the street, staring upward like he was watching a bird. Soichiro followed El's gaze. "I don't see anything," Soichiro said. El didn't either. But he saw the winged man's posture change, just slightly, like a cat noticing a snake. The winged man spoke to the air. "You've been killing sloppily," he said, voice calm but sharp. "I assume that's on purpose." A sound came next. Not a laugh like Ryuk's. A colder sound, like dry leaves rubbing together. The air above the roofline bent. A tall figure appeared, half shadow, half bone white, with eyes that looked like deep holes. Not Ryuk. Something older, stricter. Something that did not come here to play. Lel's skin prickled. Soichiro's breath caught. People in the crowd screamed again, because even if they didn't fully see it, their bodies felt it. The Shinigami's presence pushed down on them like fear with weight. The new Shinigami didn't look at the humans for long. It looked at the winged man like it was reading a problem that should not exist. "An anomaly," it said, voice grinding and flat. "A violation." The winged man's smile did not move. "You have rules," he said. "Yes," the Shinigami said, "and you are not part of them." El's mind raced. Humans can't usually see Shinigami without the notebook, he thought. So why can we see this one? Then he realized. Maybe they weren't seeing it with their eyes. Maybe their fear was painting it for them. Soichiro stepped forward, forcing his voice steady. "Stop," Soichiro shouted, not sure who he was talking to. "People are getting hurt." The Shinigami's gaze flicked down to him like he was a small insect. "You are already dead," it said. "You simply have not been told when." Soichiro's face tightened, but he didn't step back. El watched the Shinigami's hands. There was no notebook, no pen. Yet people had died in groups. So this wasn't Death Note writing, El thought. This was direct Shinigami pressure, something like draining. The winged man sighed, almost bored again. "You're hurting them," he said. "That's rude." The Shinigami hissed, the sound making several people collapse in the crowd. El saw a teenager drop to his knees, clutching his chest. A mother fell forward, fainting. Matsuda, who had just arrived with another car, stumbled and grabbed a pole like his legs forgot how to work. The winged man's wings flashed out. This time they stayed. They filled the street with light, not blinding, but strong. The fear pressure eased, like someone removed a heavy blanket. People gasped and sucked air like they had been underwater. El felt it too. Relief. He hated that he needed it. The winged man looked at the Shinigami and spoke in a calm tone, like he was correcting bad manners. "Try again," he said, without touching the civilians. The Shinigami's eyes narrowed. "Your existence endangers the system," it said. "The system is already being abused," the winged man replied, "by a child with a book." El's eyes snapped to the winged man. He knows, El thought. He knows Kira is a person. The Shinigami lifted a hand. The streetlights flickered out. Darkness rolled in fast, unnatural, like a curtain being pulled. In the dark, people screamed again. The winged man didn't. He raised one hand, palm up. The darkness stopped like it hit a wall. A line of light spread outward from his palm, simple and clean, cutting the dark away. The Shinigami lunged. Not a punch, not a tackle. It moved like a shadow snapping forward, trying to pass through the winged man's chest, trying to pull something out that humans couldn't see. El's stomach turned. He understood in a cold way what it was trying to do. Soul. The winged man caught it. He caught the Shinigami's wrist like it was a normal arm. The air cracked. The Shinigami's eyes widened in real surprise. "You can touch me," it rasped. The winged man's smile came back, thin. "I can do a lot of things," he said. He didn't slam it into the ground. He didn't tear it apart. He simply lifted the Shinigami off the rooftop line, off the street, and held it in the air with one hand like it weighed nothing. The Shinigami hissed, thrashing. The buildings around them vibrated, glass trembled. El watched street signs bend slightly, like the air pressure changed. Soichiro shielded his face from a sudden wind that shouldn't exist. The winged man spoke quietly, only to the Shinigami. "Tell your king," he said. "Tell your laws. Tell your whole realm." He lifted the Shinigami higher. The crowd below looked like ants now. Their screams faded under the sound of air tearing. "I'm not here to break your system," the winged man said. "Not yet." The Shinigami's eyes narrowed, angry. "Then leave," it snarled. The winged man tilted his head, amused again. "No," he said, "the same word as the first night. I'm curious." The Shinigami gathered itself. Its body shimmered like it was turning into smoke. El felt a sick pull in his chest, like something was trying to tug him out through his ribs. Soichiro stumbled. Aizawa grabbed him. The Shinigami's voice came out like a command. "Fear is the door," it said, "and you are surrounded by it." The crowd screamed louder as panic returned. The air pressure spiked. The Shinigami started to vanish, using the fear as cover, slipping between rules. El realized with a flash of cold respect that it was not trying to win. It was trying to escape. It had come to measure the anomaly. Now it had its answer. The winged man watched it fade. He could have stopped it, El thought. He could have sealed the space around it. He could have erased it. But he didn't. Instead, the winged man's gaze dropped to the crowd. He spread his wings wider and let a calm wave roll out. It wasn't mind control. It wasn't a spell that erased memory. It was simpler. The panic eased enough for people to breathe. Enough for them to stand. Enough for them to stop crushing each other. The Shinigami's form flickered one last time above the street. Before it vanished, it looked down at the winged man and spoke, voice low and hateful. "You will be corrected," it promised. The winged man smiled up at the empty air it left behind. "Try," he said. Then he folded his wings away, and the streetlights returned to normal like the city had decided not to talk about what happened. El stood still, eyes on the sky. Soichiro looked at the winged man with a mixture of fear and relief, like he didn't want to admit either one. Matsuda finally found his voice, shaky. What are you?" he whispered. The winged man glanced at him like the question was cute. "Someone bored," he said. Then he looked at El again, eyes sharp. "And someone who now knows your case is bigger than you think," he added. El's jaw tightened. "What did that thing want?" El asked. The winged man turned his head slightly, like he was listening to a far-off sound. "It wanted the system clean," he said. "It wanted me gone, and it wanted the book back under control." El swallowed a hard thought. So the Shinigami realm has rules, he realized. Real authority. That changed everything. The winged man's gaze drifted over the crowd again. A few people stared at him like he was their savior. Others stared like he was the next disaster. He spoke, almost casually. "Your Kira," he said, "is going to react." El didn't answer. He didn't need to. Because in a quiet room elsewhere in the city, Light Yagami was watching the live stream clip of the sky fight. And for the first time in a long time, Light's calm mask cracked just enough for fear to slip through. Not fear of being caught. Fear of being replaced. Ryuk leaned close to the screen, grinning again. "This is great," Ryuk said. Light didn't look at him. His eyes stayed locked on the winged man's face. On the way, the man had looked up at a Shinigami like it was nothing. Light's fingers tightened around his pen. In his mind, the plan shifted. He had been the judge. Now there was something else on the board. Something that could ruin the whole game. And Light only had one way to deal with gods. He would try to write one down. El did not sleep. He sat in the same crouched position for hours, eyes half-lidded, watching a loop of the street fight like it was a puzzle that kept changing shape. Bullets hanging in the air. A darkness that moved like a sheet. A Shinigami held in one hand, like a toy. And the winged man's voice, calm as a person asking for the time. "We will observe you," El had said. "Good," the man had replied. "I like an audience." Now El watched the moment the Shinigami tried to vanish. He paused the frame where the air bent. "Watari," El said quietly. Watari stepped closer, Yes, L. List every death in the last 48 hours that does not match Kira's pattern, L said. Time, place, number of people, and witness feelings. Watari nodded. Already started. L's eyes stayed on the screen. Also list every report where civilians say they felt pressure. Pressure? Aizawa repeated from the other side of the room. L glanced at him. Fear with weight, L said. The kind that makes you kneel. Soichiro Yagami stood with his arms crossed, face tight. That was real, he said, voice low. I felt it. Matsuda swallowed. I thought I was going to die, he said. Not like a heart attack. Like my body was giving up. L nodded once. He did not comfort them. He did not have time. There was a rule system behind Kira. L had suspected that for a long time. A notebook that killed did not belong in a normal world. But now there was proof of something bigger. A system with officials. A system with punishers. And an anomaly strong enough to grab one with his bare hand. L's eyes moved to a second screen showing social media clips from the fight. Thousands of shaky videos. People crying. People cheering. People calling the winged man a savior. L hated that part most. People always wanted a savior. That was how Kira had grown. Soichiro's phone rang for the 5th time in 10 minutes. He answered, listened, and his shoulders pulled tighter. Yes, he said. I understand. He ended the call and looked at L. The government wants answers, Soichiro said. They want us to hand him over. Or, at least keep him out of sight. You cannot hide a storm, L said. Soichiro's jaw flexed. He is not a storm, he said. He saved lives tonight. And he could end them just as easily, Aizawa said. Soichiro shot him a sharp look. So could Kira, Soichiro said. And we still follow the law. We still try to do this right. L watched Soichiro for a moment. Soichiro was steady, honest, a man who didn't want to become what he chased. That made him useful. And it made him fragile. L spoke softly. We need rules, he said. Matsuda blinked. Rules? For him, L said. For the Shinigami. For the notebook. For everything. Aizawa frowned. We don't even know his name. L's eyes narrowed. Exactly. A silence fell. Then he'd asked the question everyone was thinking. What if Kira writes his name? Matsuda looked sick. Would it work? L did not answer right away. He looked at the screen again. The winged man's face was clear in one clip. Calm. Almost amused. If Kira could kill him, L thought, then Kira would try. If Kira could not, then Kira would still try. Either way, this was now a baited hook. L stood. We find out what he is, L said. But we do it carefully. We do not give Kira a clean chance to use him. Soichiro nodded. Agreed. L glanced at Soichiro. And you will be the first line, L added. Not because you are strongest, because you are hardest to corrupt. Soichiro's eyes widened slightly. Then he accepted it with a grim nod. L walked toward the door. We speak with him, L said. In a controlled place. Aizawa exhaled. Can you even control a place around him? L paused. No, he said, but we can control ourselves. Light Yagami watched the same footage in his quiet room, but for him, it was not a puzzle. It was a threat. The winged man's wings were beautiful. That was not the problem. The problem was the way he looked at the Shinigami. Light replayed it again and again, the moment the man spoke into empty air. The way Ryuk reacted, like he had been caught. Light's hand tightened around his pen. A god could not exist in Light's world unless Light controlled him. That was the truth. Light sat back and forced his breathing to stay steady. Ryuk floated upside down near the ceiling, chewing an apple and watching Light's face. You're thinking hard, Ryuk said. Light did not look up. He can see you, Light said. Ryuk shrugged, like it was a funny detail. So what? He didn't kill me. Light's eyes narrowed. You don't understand, Light said. If he can see you, he can see the system. Ryuk grinned. Maybe he already does. That made Light's chest feel tight for a moment. Light stood and walked to the window. Tokyo looked normal from here. Neon signs, cars, people moving. But it wasn't normal anymore. Light spoke in a calm voice, like he was explaining a lesson to himself. "The Death Note needs a name and a face," Light said. "That's the rule." Ryuk's grin widened. "So, you want his name?" Light's eyes stayed on the city. "Yes." Ryuk bit his apple louder. "Good luck." Light ignored the tone. He could not afford pride now, only results. He turned back to his desk and opened a drawer. Inside were photos and notes. Misa Amane's face stared back at him from one of them. Bright eyes, big smile. Misa was dangerous, but useful. And she had Rem. Rem was dangerous in a different way. Light picked up his phone and typed a message. Something sweet. Something that sounded caring. He had learned what Misa responded to. He hit send. Then he stared at the screen and thought of the winged man again. If I can't write him, Light thought, then I will trap him. And if I can't trap him, then I will turn him into a symbol. Even gods can be used if the world believes in them. The winged man did not hide. The next day, he walked into a courthouse. He did not wear wings. He wore a plain suit, crisp and neat, like he belonged among lawyers and judges. People whispered when they saw him. Phones came up again. He did not tell them to stop. He walked past security like the metal detector did not matter. A guard stepped in his way, shaking. "Sir, you can't." The man smiled politely. "I can," he said. The guard's mouth opened, then closed. He stepped aside without understanding why. The man sat in the back of a courtroom and watched a case about theft. A tired judge spoke. A scared defendant lied badly. A victim cried. The man's eyes moved from face to face, calm and sharp, like he could hear the truth in their breathing. When the judge asked for the final statement, the defendant started to plead. "I didn't mean," the defendant said. The man leaned forward slightly and spoke, not loud, but clear enough to cut through the room. "What do you truly desire?" he asked. The whole room went still. The defendant froze, eyes wide, as if his tongue had been grabbed. Then the words spilled out. "I want to win," the defendant said, voice shaking. "I want to take what I can and not get punished." The judge stared. The victim stared. The defendant's face twisted with shame and panic. The man in the back did not look shocked. He simply watched, like this was the only honest thing said all day. The judge banged the gavel, furious. "Remove him!" he shouted. Security rushed forward, but they did not touch the man in the back. They couldn't. Not because an invisible wall stopped them. Because their bodies refused. They slowed, eyes darting, then veered away like scared animals. The man stood calmly, buttoned his jacket, and walked out. Outside, the air felt heavy with rumor and fear. He looked up at the sky, as if he was listening to a sound only he could hear. "This world is full of masks," he said softly. Then he smiled, amused again. And one boy is wearing the biggest one. When Elle met him again, it was not in a cell. It was in a quiet office building the task force had secured. There were cameras in every corner, microphones in the walls, hidden people in nearby rooms. Elle did not pretend it was normal. Soichiro sat with him at a table. Aizawa stood near the door. Matsuda was in a second room, watching through glass, sweating. The winged man entered without being escorted. He sat like he owned the chair. Elle didn't offer his hand. "You've been visiting places?" Elle said. The man smiled. "You mean following desire," he said. Elle's eyes stayed flat. "You caused a confession in court." "I asked a question," the man said. "So you can force people to tell the truth," Elle said. The man's gaze sharpened. "No," he corrected again. "I can make lying feel useless." Soichiro leaned forward. "People are scared," he said, "because people are dying." The man's expression softened just enough to look almost human. "Yes," he said, "and they are begging for a judge." His voice was steady. "If you can stop death, why don't you stop Kira?" The room went still. Aizawa watched the man's hands, ready for anything. The man looked at El like he had been waiting for that question. "You want me to fix your world," he said, "so you can feel safe." "That is not what I said," El replied. "It is what you meant," the man said calmly. Soichiro's voice stayed firm. "Kira is murdering people," he said. "We can't just watch." The man's eyes flicked to Soichiro. "And yet your world has watched," he said. "It watched Kira for months. It watched because part of it liked the idea." Soichiro's face tightened, but he did not deny it. The man leaned back slightly and spoke in a simple tone. "I don't like cages," he said. "I don't like forced order. If I crush Kira with my power, then you will learn one thing." El's eyes narrowed. "What?" "You will learn to wait for gods," the man said. "And that's worse than Kira." Matsuda swallowed behind the glass. He wanted to argue. He wanted to say, "But people are dying." El spoke instead. "Then what do you want?" The man smiled, like the conversation finally got interesting. "I want to see who you are when no one can save you," he said. "And I want to see who Kira is when he realizes he isn't alone." El held his gaze. "You know, Kira is a person," El said. The man nodded. "A boy," he said. Soichiro's hands clenched into fists on the table. El's mind raced. If this being could sense Kira, then he could ruin Light's advantage, or he could ruin El's plan. "Are you here to punish him?" El asked. The man's smile turned small. "No," he said. "Punishment is boring." Aizawa bristled. "People are dead," he snapped. The man looked at Aizawa. His eyes were not angry. They were simply clear. "I know," he said. The temperature in the room did not change, but Aizawa suddenly felt like he was standing too close to a cliff. The man looked back at El. "I will not become your weapon," he said, "but I will not let your city drown in panic either." El's face stayed calm. "So you will interfere," El said. "I will protect," the man replied, "when it matters." Soichiro leaned forward, voice tight. "And what about Kira?" he asked. The man's eyes stayed on Soichiro for a long beat. Then he asked, quiet and direct, "What do you truly desire?" Soichiro's throat moved. He did not like the question. It felt like someone reaching into his chest. "Still," he answered. "I want the truth," Soichiro said. "I want the killings to stop. And I want my son to be safe." The man's eyes flickered again at the last part. Then he nodded, like he filed it away. El watched that flicker. Interesting, El thought. The man stood. Before he left, he turned back to El and spoke like he was warning him, but without threat. "Kira will try to right me," he said. "He will try to steal what he can't earn." El's voice stayed flat. "And if he tries?" The man smiled. "Then we will see what he truly desires," he said, and he walked out. In a dark place far from Tokyo's lights, something else watched too. In the Shinigami realm, the air did not move like normal air. It felt thick, like old dust. A throne sat in the distance, shape unclear, like it was made from shadow and bone. The Shinigami who had fought the winged man stood with its head lowered. It did not kneel out of respect. It knelt because it had to. "The anomaly can touch us," the enforcer said. A voice came from the throne, slow, heavy, like law. "Then the anomaly risks the system," the voice said. The enforcer's hands tightened. "He did not kill me," it said. "He allowed me to leave." Silence. Then the voice spoke again. "He allowed it because he is curious," it said. "Curiosity makes him careless." The enforcer lowered its head further. "Orders?" The throne's voice became colder. "Do not fight strength with strength," it said. "Fight strength with rules." A second figure stepped forward from the dark. It carried something that looked like a ring of black metal, but it wasn't metal. It was a rule shaped like an object. "A seal," the voice said. "A lock." The enforcer looked up, eyes narrowing. "A lock needs a door," it said. The throne's voice answered, calm and certain. "Fear is the door," it said, "and humans make fear easily." Misa Amane danced into Light's life like a firework. She arrived at the cafe with a big smile, sunglasses and a bag of gifts that she placed on the table, as if she was bringing offerings to a king. Light acted surprised, then pleased, then grateful. He played the role perfectly. Misa leaned close, eyes bright. "Light," she said. "You missed me, right?" Light smiled softly. "Of course," he said. Ryuk hovered behind Light, unseen by Misa, grinning like a kid watching a trick. Rem hovered behind Misa, seen by Light, eyes cold as stone. Light did not look at Rem directly for long. He knew better. Misa's voice dropped to a whisper. "Did you see him?" she asked. Light tilted his head. "Who?" "The winged man," Misa said, excited. "Everyone says he's an angel, but some people say he's a devil. I think he's beautiful." Light made his face neutral. "I saw the videos," he said. Misa clapped her hands softly. "Right?" He stopped bullets like it was nothing. "Light, if he's on our side, no one can stop Kira." Rem's eyes narrowed. She stepped forward slightly, voice rough. "Do not drag him into this," Rem said, speaking only to Light. Light kept his smile gentle for Misa. "I'm not sure what he wants," Light said. Misa leaned closer. "We can find out," she whispered. "We can talk to him. My eyes." Light's heart beat a little faster, but he kept his face calm. Misa had the Shinigami eyes. She could see names above heads. If she looked at the winged man, she could get his name. Light's mind moved fast. But Rem was here. Rem would not allow Misa to be used too openly, so Light did what he always did. He used emotion. "Misa," Light said softly and let his voice sound warm. "Be careful, I don't want you hurt." Misa melted instantly. "I won't get hurt," she said. "I'll do anything for you." Rem's stare sharpened. She could smell the lie in Light's tone even if Misa couldn't. Light continued anyway. "There is something you can do," he said, gentle. "Something small." Misa nodded fast. "Anything." Light leaned in, voice low. "I want you to see him," Light said. "Just see him, from a safe distance. And tell me one thing." Misa blinked. "What?" "His name," Light said. Rem's voice snapped like a whip. "No." Misa flinched, startled by Rem's sudden force. Light kept his face calm. "I'm not asking her to hurt him," Light said, speaking to Rem without looking at her. "I'm asking her to look." Rem's eyes were hard. "That is not your real reason," Rem said. Light smiled slightly, as if Rem was being silly. "My reason is to protect Misa," he said. Rem didn't move. "You will get her killed," Rem said. Misa's face tightened, confused. "Rem, stop," she whispered. "Light loves me." Rem's expression didn't change. Light's smile stayed in place, but inside he felt anger. Rem was a wall. So Light shifted again. "If you're worried," Light said, "then you can watch too." Rem's eyes narrowed. It wasn't trust, it was control. But Rem cared only about Misa. After a long moment, Rem said, "We will not approach him," Rem warned. "We will not speak to him. We will only observe." Misa squealed. Okay. Light's mind settled into a cold line. Good. A name was a key, and every lock had one. The first public call-out came 3 days later. It wasn't a normal news report. It was a live stream. A shaky phone camera showed a dark warehouse with a circle of candles. People wore cheap masks and held signs that said Kira is justice. In the center, a man was tied to a chair. His face was bruised. His eyes were wide with fear. A masked leader stepped into the frame. His voice was loud and excited. "The world is changing," the leader shouted. "Kira has purified us, and now a divine being walks among us." The camera swung to show a symbol painted on the wall. A pair of wings. Under it, one word. Judge. L watched it on a screen in HQ, face flat, but his stomach tight. Soichiro leaned forward, furious. "Turn it off," he said. L didn't. He couldn't. The masked leader lifted a torn strip of paper between his fingers. It looked like notebook paper. L's eyes sharpened. The leader shouted, "If you are the angel, if you are the devil, if you are the judge, come now." Prove you are real." The hostage shook and cried. "Please," he begged. "Please." The leader leaned toward the camera. "At midnight," he said. "At the old freight yard by the river." He laughed. "If you don't come," he said, "we will write the names we have. We will judge 10 people in front of the world." The live stream cut off. Silence filled the HQ. Matsuda whispered, "They have pages." L's voice was calm but cold. "Yes," he said, "and this is not a coincidence." Soichiro's fists clenched. "We raid," he said. L nodded once. "We raid," he agreed. But inside, L's mind added a second line. "And someone wants the winged man to appear." L looked at the map of Tokyo. He felt the shape of a trap. And for the first time, he wasn't sure if the trap was meant for Kira or for the anomaly. The winged man watched the same live stream from a rooftop, like he was watching a play. He wasn't shocked by the hostage. He wasn't shocked by the cult. Humans always built altars when they were scared. What interested him was the paper. It wasn't normal paper. It felt like a rule. A small rule, torn into pieces. A child's weapon turned into a religion. The man smiled, amused. Then he spoke softly to the empty air beside him, where Ryuk hovered, half-hidden, pretending not to care. "You humans and your toys," the man said. "You turn everything into a crown." Ryuk's grin was forced. "Don't look at me," Ryuk said. "I didn't start a cult." The man glanced at him. "No," he said, "but you handed them the concept." Ryuk laughed, but it sounded thinner this time. The man looked back at the city. "At midnight," he said. Then, like it was nothing, he added, "I wonder what the boy wants me to do." Ryuk's eyes narrowed. "Which boy?" Ryuk asked, though he already knew. The man's smile sharpened. "The one who thinks he's a god," he said. Midnight did not arrive quietly. Tokyo's air felt tense, like the whole city was holding its breath. At the old freight yard, police vehicles moved without sirens. L had ordered silence. The task force wore vests and carried weapons, but their hands were shaking more than they wanted to admit. Soichiro checked his team twice, voice steady, firm. "We saved the hostage," he said. "We take the paper. No mistakes." Aizawa nodded. "Understood." Matsuda swallowed hard. "Understood," he echoed. L stood behind them, eyes on the dark yard. He didn't like it. Not because of the cult. Because of what might arrive. He had cameras set across the area. He had a backup plan for the cult. But he had no plan for the winged man and whatever rules followed him. L's phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. One line. "Don't let him take my throne." L's eyes narrowed. He didn't show anyone. He didn't need to. Only one person would write like that. Kira. Light. L's mind stayed calm on the surface, but inside, a cold certainty sharpened. Light is scared, L thought, and light is moving. The winged man arrived without sound. One moment, the yard was dark and still. The next moment, air pressure shifted, and a figure stood on top of a rusted shipping container like he had always been there. A few cult members screamed. Some fell to their knees. One shouted, "He came! He came!" The hostage sobbed, shaking. L's throat went tight. Soichiro whispered, "There." Aizawa raised his gun, then lowered it again, realizing how useless it would be. The winged man looked down at the cult leader. The leader stepped forward, shaking with excitement, and lifted the torn paper high. "We worship justice," the leader yelled. "We worship Kira, and we welcome you, Judge." The winged man's face stayed calm. He asked the same question, almost gentle. "What do you truly desire?" he said. The cult leader's mouth opened. His eyes widened. Then the truth fell out, loud and ugly. "I want power," the leader screamed, horrified by his own words. "I want people to fear me. I want to be chosen." The cult went silent. The leader's hands trembled. He looked around in shame and rage. The winged man nodded, like he had confirmed a simple fact. "Of course," he said. Then he looked toward the shadows where L stood. He didn't know L's name, but he knew his shape, his intent. "I assume you're here too," the winged man said, voice calm. L didn't step forward yet. He watched the hostage. He watched the paper. He watched the air. Because the air had begun to bend again. And this time, it wasn't from the winged man. It was from above. A cold pressure rolled down like a lid closing. People gasped. Some cult members clutched their heads and screamed. The winged man's eyes lifted. His smile faded into something sharp. "Ah," he said softly, "you're early." The darkness above the yard gathered into a shape. Not Ryuk. Another enforcer. And behind it, something stranger. A thin black ring formed in the air, like a circle made of rule and hate. L felt his skin crawl. The Shinigami's voice came like dry paper tearing. "Anomaly," it said. "Interference triggers the seal." The ring pulsed. For a moment, the winged man's body did not move. Not because he was weak, because the space around him was being told to behave. The winged man chuckled, almost impressed. "So you brought a lock," he said. The Shinigami lifted its hand. The black ring widened, aiming to close around the winged man like a collar around the world itself. And down below, the cult leader, shaking, screamed in panic. "Write them. Write the 10 names. Now." Several cult members fumbled with scraps of paper and pens. The hostage screamed. The task force surged forward. Soichiro shouted, "Move, now." Chaos exploded. L ran, eyes scanning for the scraps. Aizawa tackled one cult member, knocking paper and pen away. Matsuda grabbed the hostage's chair and tried to cut the ropes. At the same time, the Shinigami seal descended. The winged man's wings flashed out, bright and wide, but the ring still pressed down, trying to bind his movement. He looked at it like it was a rude hand on his shoulder. He could have ripped the whole yard apart. He didn't, because humans were everywhere. Instead, he did something cleaner. He lifted one finger. The air around the cult members thickened like clear gel. Their hands slowed. Pens dragged through the air like they were moving through syrup. The scraps of paper fluttered in place and stopped mid-fall. L's eyes widened. Time wasn't frozen. Only the danger. The winged man spoke, calm and precise. "I'm not here to be your god," he said to the cult, voice carrying over the noise. "And you," he said to the Shinigami, "are not going to use them as your door." The Shinigami hissed. The ring pulsed harder. The winged man's smile returned, thin. "Fine," he said softly. "I'll pay your price." He stepped forward into the ring on purpose. The seal snapped around him. For a split second, the winged man's presence felt contained, like lightning inside a glass box. Every human in the yard felt it and flinched. L's heart thudded. Is that possible? L thought. Then the winged man turned his head, eyes calm, and the fear in L's chest turned into something else. Not relief. Awe. Because the winged man looked annoyed. Not scared. Annoyed. He spoke to the Shinigami, voice low. "You want rules?" he said. "Then watch me obey them better than you." He lifted his hand and snapped his fingers. The scraps of Death Note paper did not burn. They did not vanish. They simply turned blank. Ink peeled away like dust in the wind. The cult members stared at their pages in horror. The leader screamed, "No, no!" The Shinigami's eyes narrowed. "You altered the rule," it said. "I altered the paper," the winged man replied. "Your rule stays. Your toy does not." L watched the blank pages flutter to the ground. His mind raced. If the pages are neutralized, L thought, then Kira's reach is smaller. But if the winged man can do this, then Kira will come for him harder than ever. The ring around the winged man pulsed again, angry. The Shinigami tried to tighten it. The winged man tilted his head, almost bored again. He looked down at the hostage, trembling, and then at the task force. "So," he said, voice calm, "save your people. I'll handle your paperwork." And he lifted both hands. The black ring shook, not because he pushed against it like a prisoner, but because he changed the space around it, like he was moving the table instead of fighting the chain. The ring slid upward, dragged away from the humans, pulled into empty sky where it had less fear to feed on. The Shinigami hissed, losing control. El watched the winged man move the battlefield with almost insulting ease. Then, above the yard, the ring cracked. Not shattered. Cracked, like a law bending too far and admitting it could break. The Shinigami jerked back, startled. The winged man smiled, eyes bright with a dangerous kind of joy. "Tell your king," he said. "Locks are for doors." The Shinigami's form flickered. It didn't stay. It retreated, vanishing into the air like smoke pulled into a hole. The pressure lifted. People fell to the ground, gasping. The cult leader collapsed, sobbing, staring at blank paper like it was a nightmare. Sirens finally began in the distance as backup arrived. Soichiro cuffed the leader himself, breathing hard. Matsuda cut the hostage free and held him up, shaking. El stood still, watching the winged man. The winged man folded his wings and stepped down from the container like gravity was tired of arguing with him. He walked past El, close enough that El could smell nothing strange, just clean fabric and night air. He stopped beside El, not facing him, just looking out at the yard. "Your boy is getting desperate," the winged man said softly. El's voice was quiet. "Which boy?" he asked, even though he knew. The winged man's smile was faint. "The one writing threats," he said. "The one who thinks he owns death." El didn't answer. The winged man glanced at him, then asked the question again, almost like a joke. "What do you truly desire, detective?" El's fingers curled slightly. He didn't like being read, but he answered anyway. "I want to stop him," El said. The winged man nodded. "Good," he said. "Then stop waiting for him to make the next move." He started to walk away. El spoke quickly. "Will you tell me your name?" The winged man paused. He looked over his shoulder, eyes amused and sharp. "No," he said, "but I'll tell you something else." El waited. The winged man's voice dropped, calm as a knife sliding into a sheath. "Kira will try to take my name," he said, "and when he fails, he will try to take yours." Then he vanished. Not with a flash. Not with a sound. He was simply gone, as if the world forgot to keep him in one place. El stood in the yard, cold settling in his stomach. Because he knew the winged man was right. And somewhere else in Tokyo, Light Yagami was watching clips of the raid already spreading online, and smiling in a way that did not reach his eyes. Because even in failure, Light had learned something. The winged man would step into traps if people might die. That meant Light could build bigger traps. And next time, Light would not use a cult. He would use someone the winged man couldn't ignore. Someone like Misa. Someone like El's own team. Someone like Soichiro. And the game, which used to be about one notebook, was now about a city begging for gods. While two monsters planned how to own the throne. 2 weeks passed, but Tokyo did not feel lighter. It felt like a room where someone had turned the music down, and everybody was waiting for the next loud sound. The Kira killings slowed for a few days. Then they started again, but in smaller bursts. People argued online about what it meant. Some said Kira was scared. Some said Kira was testing. Some said the winged man had balanced the city. El did not believe in balance. He believed in patterns. He stood in front of a whiteboard covered in timelines and maps. He held a marker but did not write yet. Soichiro sat at the table, tired lines cutting deeper into his face. Public approval for Kira dropped 5% after the freight yard incident, Edie said, then rose again in the next 2 days. Because people hate chaos more than they hate murder, El said. Matsuda swallowed. That's awful. It's human, Aizawa replied, flat. Soichiro's hands were clasped. What about the winged man? He asked. El looked at a second board with photos of the man in a suit. Always calm, always present. Courts, hospitals, a prison entrance, a school walkway, a rooftop at dawn. He appears near intense emotions, El said. Fear, guilt, greed, love. So he's helping? Matsuda asked, hopeful. El's eyes stayed dull. He is observing, he said, and intervening only when he chooses. Soichiro's voice tightened. He stopped people from dying at the yard, he said. That matters. It does, El agreed. Then he added, and it makes him predictable. Soichiro frowned. Predictable? If we can guess what he will not ignore, El said, then Kira can also guess. The room went quiet. Aizawa leaned forward. You think Kira will bait him, he said. El nodded once. Yes, he said, and not with strangers. Soichiro's stomach sank. You mean us? El met his eyes. Or your family, El said softly. Soichiro's face stiffened. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. The fear was clear. El turned back to the board. We assume Kira will attempt two things, he said. First, learn the winged man's name. Second, learn mine. Matsuda blinked. But how can he learn your real name? El didn't answer. He simply looked at the floor for a moment, like he was counting steps. Then he spoke again. We do not give him a clean shot, El said. No solo movement. No unplanned meetings. No private interviews. Soichiro nodded firmly. Understood. El's phone vibrated. Watari stepped closer and quietly showed him a live feed link. A new video was spreading fast. Not a shaky clip this time. A clean, edited announcement. A bright studio background. Soft music. A smiling host. The host spoke directly to the camera. Tonight, the host said, we will broadcast a special conversation with the man the world is calling the judge. A man with wings. A man who stopped death itself. His eyes narrowed. Soichiro leaned in. Is that real? He asked. El watched the host's eyes. The smile was too smooth, too practiced. The script was too perfect. It's bait, El said. The host lifted a sealed envelope on camera. We have received proof, he said, voice excited. Proof that Kira supports this interview. Proof that Kira recognizes the judge. Soichiro's face strained. They're using Kira's name openly, he whispered. El's voice stayed calm. Because Kira wants the winged man to show, he said. The host continued, if the judge is truly here to reveal truth, then let him come to the NHN building at midnight. The world will watch. The host smiled wider. And if he does not come, he said, Kira will send a message the world will feel. The video ended with a countdown clock. Midnight. Soichiro looked at El. We have to stop this, he said. El nodded. Yes, he said, but not by rushing in blindly. He turned to the team. We go, El said. We control the building as much as possible, and we assume Kira planned this with precision. Matsuda swallowed. What about the winged man? Lel's eyes stayed hard. We assume he will come, El said. Lucifer stood on a rooftop across from the NHN building an hour before midnight. He wore a plain suit again. The wind moved his hair, but not his posture. The city lights reflected in his eyes like he was watching a fish tank. Below, police vans parked quietly. People were being turned away. Inside the building, lights were still on. Cameras were still ready. He could feel the fear in the streets. He could feel the hunger, too. People wanted a show. People wanted a sign. Behind him, Ryuk hovered on the edge of a billboard, chewing an apple and pretending he wasn't nervous. You're going, Ryuk said. Lucifer didn't look at him. Of course, he replied. Ryuk huffed. Humans are so easy, he said. They wave a threat and you come running. Lucifer's mouth curved a little. I don't come for threats, he said. I come for choices. Ryuk's grin twitched. You like choices, he said. That's funny. Lucifer finally glanced at him. His gaze was sharp and calm at the same time. I like seeing what people do when the mask cracks, he said. Your boy is about to crack. Ryuk's eyes narrowed. Which boy? He asked again. Lucifer's smile was small. The one who calls himself a god, he said. Down below, the clock on the broadcast screen ticked closer to midnight. Lucifer felt something else, layered under human fear. A colder pressure. A rule-shaped pressure. He looked up at the night sky. They're here too, he said quietly. Ryuk froze. Who? He asked, though he already knew. Lucifer didn't answer with words. He only watched the air above the building, as if he could see the shape of a door forming. Light Yagami watched the countdown from a hidden room with 3 screens. One showed the studio inside NHN. One showed a hallway camera. One showed the city street outside. Misa sat on the bed behind him, knees pulled up, hands clasped tight. Her eyes were wide, excited, and scared at once. Rem stood behind her like a shadow with a blade. Light's voice was gentle as he spoke to Misa. "Remember," he said, "you don't go near him." Misa nodded fast. "I know," she whispered. "But I'll see him, right?" Light smiled softly. "Yes," he said. "Just look. And tell me what you see above his head." Misa swallowed. "His name," she said, almost like a prayer. Rem's voice was low and cold. "If you push her into danger, I will kill you," Rem said. Light didn't look at Rem. He didn't argue. He didn't need to. He had built this night, so Rem would have to choose. Because Light was not only baiting Lucifer, he was baiting the rules. He reached into his pocket and felt the death note. The real one, not a scrap. He didn't plan to use it on Lucifer first. Not yet. First, he needed proof. A name. And if he couldn't get that, he would take something else. He would take the throne back by breaking the people around it. The countdown hit 1 minute. Light's eyes stayed calm, but his fingers were tight. "Come," he whispered. El moved through the NHN building like a quiet storm. He had placed task force members on every floor. He had cut off public entry. He had the host in a secured room, guarded, because El didn't trust anyone who smiled that easily. Soichiro stayed close, face set, eyes alert. "This feels wrong," Soichiro muttered. "It is wrong," El replied. They reached the studio. The set was bright, empty, ready for a performance. The cameras were on. The red recording lights blinked. El looked up at the ceiling. He knew Kira loved eyes. Kira loved attention. "Midnight is in 10 seconds, Matsuda whispered through the earpiece. El didn't move. He watched the air. At 0, the lights flickered. Not off. Just a dip, like the building's heart skipped once. Then the studio temperature dropped. Not like winter, like fear turning into a physical thing. Several crew members gasped. One grabbed the edge of a desk and stared at nothing. "What is that?" someone whispered. Soichiro's breath hitched. He felt it again. That weight. Above the center of the studio, the air bent. A thin black ring formed. A rule, shaped into a circle. "Seal," El whispered, understanding too late. A Shinigami shape appeared in the shadow above the ring. Its eyes were deep and hard. It spoke with a voice like dry paper tearing. "Anomaly," it said. "You are summoned." Soichiro's hands clenched. "No," he said, voice shaking with anger. "You don't get to—" A pressure wave rolled through the studio. People fell to their knees. Matsuda cried out as his legs gave way. Aizawa grabbed a chair to keep upright. El stayed standing only because he forced himself. Then, in the middle of the set, Lucifer appeared. No flash, no loud entrance. He was simply there, as if the world had been waiting for him to occupy that space. The crew screamed. Soichiro stared, heart hammering. Lucifer looked up at the black ring and the Shinigami above it. His face was not scared. He looked annoyed. "You're getting bold," Lucifer said. The Shinigami's voice did not change. "The system corrects anomalies," it said. Lucifer sighed. "And humans are your door," he replied. His wings flashed out, bright and wide, filling the studio with clean light. The fear pressure eased slightly, enough for people to breathe again. El's eyes narrowed. Lucifer was controlling the panic without erasing it, like he was lowering the volume, not cutting the wires. Then Lucifer's gaze shifted. Not to the Shinigami, to the nearest camera. He stared straight into it, like he knew someone was watching from behind the screen. Light, miles away, felt his stomach twist. Lucifer smiled at the camera. "Hello," he said softly. "You made quite the stage." El's blood ran cold. He isn't guessing, El thought. He is speaking to Kira. Lucifer turned back to the Shinigami. "Let's not do this here," he said. The Shinigami lifted a hand. The black ring pulsed, widening, trying to close around Lucifer like a collar of rules. Lucifer stepped forward instead of back. He walked into the ring on purpose. The ring snapped around him. The studio lights dimmed again. The air tightened. The crew screamed. Elle watched Lucifer's shoulders for any sign of strain. There was none. Lucifer's eyes stayed calm. He looked up at the Shinigami and spoke like he was giving a lesson. "You think a lock is strength," Lucifer said. "It's not. It's a question." He lifted his hand and snapped his fingers. Somewhere else in the city, in Light's hidden room, the death note in Light's pocket went suddenly warm. Light jerked, startled. On the cover, the letters seemed to blur for a moment, like ink trying to peel away. Light's eyes widened in panic. "What did he do?" Light whispered. Misa stood up, shaking. "Light?" she asked. Rem's eyes narrowed. "He touched the rule," Rem said. Light's voice snapped. "No," he hissed. "He can't." He grabbed the notebook and flipped it open. The page was still there, but the edges looked wrong, like paper that had been soaked and dried. Light's breath came faster. Back in the studio, Lucifer looked down at the camera again. "Bring her," Lucifer said, calm. Elle's eyes sharpened. "Who?" he demanded. Lucifer's gaze stayed on the camera. "You know," he said. Then the studio door burst open. Misa ran in. She shouldn't have been here. She was supposed to be hidden. She was supposed to be controlled. Rem followed, eyes blazing with rage. Misa's face was pale, but her eyes were fixed on Lucifer with pure awe. "There you are," she whispered. Light had not planned for Misa to appear here like this. He had planned to keep her safe and distant, but something had pulled her, like a hook in her heart. Misa stopped several steps away, trembling. I can see Shinigami," she blurted, voice cracking. "I have the eyes." Elle's chest tightened. "So she's involved," he thought. "This confirms it." Soichiro stared at Misa, shocked and confused. "Misa Amane?" he whispered. "What are you doing here?" Misa didn't look at him. Her eyes stayed locked on Lucifer's face. Light's voice came through a hidden earpiece in Misa's ear, strained and urgent. "Look at him," Light whispered. "Now, tell me his name." Misa blinked, then focused. Her Shinigami eyes activated. She stared above Lucifer's head. Then her expression changed. Confusion first, then fear, then something like her brain refusing what it saw. I can't," Misa whispered. Light's voice sharpened. "What do you mean you can't?" Misa shook her head fast, tears starting. There's no number," she said. "No lifespan. And the name, it won't stay still. It's like it doesn't fit." Rem stepped forward, voice hard. "Because he is not under our death rule," Rem said. Lucifer smiled slightly at Rem. "Correct," he said. The Shinigami above the ring hissed angry. "He is outside," it snarled. "He must be removed." Lucifer's eyes lifted, cool. "Try," he said. The ring tightened. For the first time, the studio shook, like the building itself felt the rule being pulled too hard. Lights exploded in a shower of sparks. People screamed and crawled away. Soichiro grabbed Matsuda and pulled him behind a desk. Elle stayed in place, eyes on Lucifer, heart steady only because his mind refused to panic. Lucifer spread his wings wider. The ring cracked. The Shinigami flinched. And then, from the shadow above the ring, another voice rolled in. Not the enforcer's voice. Something heavier, like a judge speaking from a throne. "Morningstar," the voice said. The entire studio went silent. Elle's eyes widened. Soichiro whispered, "What did it call him?" Lucifer's smile turned sharp, like he did not enjoy being named by someone else. "Don't," Lucifer warned, voice low. The voice continued anyway. "Lucifer Morningstar," it said, cold and clear. "Lightbringer. Rebel. Anomaly." Misa gasped. "Lucifer," she whispered, staring like she had met a legend. El felt his stomach drop in a different way. Now we have a name, El thought, but not a name Kira can write. Soichiro looked sick. That's his name? Lucifer's eyes stayed on the darkness above. You should not say it in front of children, he said. The voice from the shadow answered, calm and cruel. You pretend to care, it said, yet you stand among their fear. Lucifer's tone was flat. You use their fear, he said. I reduce it. The voice became sharper. Leave, it commanded. Or take the system's burden. Take the throne of death here and keep the balance. El's eyes narrowed. A deal, he realized. A trap dressed as honor. Lucifer laughed once, short and humorless. A throne? He said. I don't sit in cages. The Shinigami enforcer hissed. Then you choose conflict, it said. Lucifer's gaze dropped from the sky and moved through the room. He looked at the crew hiding behind desks. He looked at Soichiro shielding his men. He looked at El standing still, eyes sharp. He looked at Misa shaking, caught between love and terror. Then he looked straight into the camera again, and he spoke to the person behind it. Kira, Lucifer said calmly, stop hiding. El's body went still. Soichiro's breath caught. Somewhere else, Light's face twisted. He grabbed his pen so hard his knuckles whitened. You want to be a god, Lucifer said, voice carrying through the studio and into every feed. So answer one question. Lucifer's eyes narrowed. What do you truly desire? Light heard it through the broadcast speaker. He tried to smirk. He tried to laugh it off. But his throat went tight. His mind screamed, say something smart. Say something noble. His mouth opened anyway, and the truth came out in a whisper that sounded like a confession to himself. I want to win, Light said. I want everyone to kneel. I want to be the only judge. Light's eyes went wide. He clapped a hand over his mouth like he could shove the words back inside. But it was too late. The room with him went silent. Misa, hearing it through the earpiece, froze like someone had slapped her. Light? She whispered, broken. Rem's eyes burned with hatred. In the studio, Soichiro staggered like he had been hit. His face went pale. El's eyes sharpened into something cold. That's it, El thought. That's the core. Lucifer didn't smile at the confession. He looked almost tired. You see, Lucifer said to the camera, voice calm. That's what this always was. Light's panic turned into rage. He ripped the death note open and started writing fast. Not Lucifer. Someone he could reach. A name he knew. Soichiro Yagami. Light's hand shook, but the letters formed. Back in the studio, Soichiro gasped, clutching his chest. El's eyes widened. Soichiro, he shouted. Soichiro fell to one knee, face twisted in shock. Matsuda screamed his name. Lucifer's head snapped toward Soichiro. His expression turned sharp. He lifted one hand. Time did not freeze for everyone. Only for Soichiro's heart. Soichiro's body stopped mid-collapse, suspended in a moment like a paused breath. Lucifer walked to him and knelt, placing 2 fingers lightly against Soichiro's chest. Then Lucifer looked straight into the camera again. Enough, he said, voice low. He lifted his other hand. Somewhere in Light's room, the pen in Light's fingers stopped moving. Not because Light chose to stop. Because his hand could not. His fingers locked in place like a statue. Light's eyes went wide in panic as he tried to force his grip. Lucifer's voice came through the feed, calm as a door closing. You wanted a throne, Lucifer said. So you tried to kill your father to hold it. Light tried to scream, but his throat wouldn't shape it. Lucifer's gaze was cold. I won't kill you, Lucifer said. I won't make you a martyr. Then he snapped his fingers again. The death note in Light's hands turned blank. Not burned. Not destroyed. Blank. Every page. Empty. Light stared, shaking, as if his whole body had been peeled open. Ryuk appeared in the corner of the room, furious for the first time. Hey, Ryuk barked. That's mine. Lucifer's eyes flicked toward Ryuk through the feed like he could see him anyway. You lost it, Lucifer said. Ryuk's grin was gone. You can't just... I can, Lucifer replied. In the studio, the Shinigami enforcer shrieked as the ring cracked wider. The voice from the darkness went still for a beat, like it was weighing options. Lucifer stood, turning slightly upward. Wings spread. He spoke to the unseen authority above, voice calm and hard. "You want your system clean?" Lucifer said. "Then take your toy back and stop dropping it into human hands for entertainment." Silence. Then the heavy voice answered, colder than before. "You speak like you can command us," it said. Lucifer smiled faintly. "No," he said. "I speak like I can ruin your fun." The ring trembled. The Shinigami enforcer looked unsure for the first time. It didn't know if rules could hold him. The throne voice spoke again. "Return the notebook," it said. Lucifer's eyes narrowed. "It's blank," he said. "Return it," the voice repeated. Lucifer paused. Then he nodded once, as if he had decided something. "Fine," he said. "But hear me." His wings flared, and the studio air brightened. "If you send enforcers into human streets again," Lucifer said, "I will not be polite next time." The heavy voice was quiet for a moment. Then it spoke one word. "Agreed." The black ring snapped shut, not around Lucifer, but around a point in empty air, like a door closing. The Shinigami presence vanished. The fear pressure lifted. In Light's room, the air also eased, like the ceiling stopped pressing down. Light's fingers unlocked. He stared at the blank notebook, breathing fast. His eyes were wet with rage. In the studio, Lucifer knelt beside Soichiro again and released time gently. Soichiro coughed and sucked in air, alive. Matsuda sobbed, gripping his arm. Soichiro looked up at Lucifer, shaking. Lucifer's gaze softened just a little. "Don't thank me," Lucifer said. "Be angry. It will keep you honest." Soichiro turned his head slowly. His eyes found El. And then, like a nightmare forming into a face, he understood. "My son," Soichiro whispered. El's voice was quiet. "Yes," he said. The studio cameras were still rolling. The world had heard the confession through the feed. Not a full legal confession, but a crack big enough to see through. Misa stood frozen, tears running down her cheeks. Light would never. She started, then stopped because she had heard his voice. Rem stared into the air, shaking with rage and grief. Lucifer looked at Misa, then spoke softly. "Love can be real," Lucifer said. "But don't confuse love with a leash." Misa's lips trembled. I didn't know," she whispered. Lucifer's eyes moved to El. "This is your job," Lucifer said. "Do it." Then he looked at the main camera one last time. "Tokyo," Lucifer said, calm and clear. "Stop begging for gods. It makes boys think they can become one." And he vanished. Not in a flash. Just gone. Like the world blinked and lost him. The arrest did not happen on live television. It happened in quiet hallways, after the feed cut, after the studio lights stopped shaking, after Soichiro sat with his head in his hands and tried not to break apart. El moved with cold focus. He didn't have the death note, but he had something else now. A pattern, a confession, a time, a trap. Light tried to run, of course. He tried to make it look like he was helping. He tried to steer suspicion away. But El's eyes were not human eyes anymore. Not in this case. He had watched too many masks. Soichiro was the one who put the handcuffs on. His hands shook as he did it. Light looked at his father with wide eyes, mouth open, as if he couldn't believe his own story had turned on him. "Dad," Light whispered, desperate. "You can't believe this. You can't." Soichiro's eyes were wet, but his voice was hard. "I heard you," Soichiro said. "The world heard you." Light's face twisted. For 1 second his mask dropped fully, and the truth showed. Not sadness. Anger. Hunger. "How dare you?" Light hissed, so quiet only his father could hear. "After everything I did." Soichiro flinched like he had been punched again. Matsuda looked away, crying. El stood at the end of the hall, watching, posture still. He did not celebrate. He did not smile. He simply felt the case shift from impossible to brutal. Ryuk hovered above the hallway ceiling, unseen, staring at light. His expression was blank now. Not amused. Not sad. Just bored again, like a toy had been taken away. Rem stood near Misa, watching light with a hatred so deep it felt like heat. Misa covered her mouth, shaking. "I loved you," she whispered, voice broken. Light did not even look at her. He looked at the air, like he was searching for Lucifer, like he wanted to scream at the universe. But the winged man was gone, and Light was finally just a boy in handcuffs. The world changed in small ways first. People argued about the broadcast. Some said it was fake. Some said it was proof. Some said the winged man was a devil who forced words into mouths. But the Kira myth cracked. And once it cracked, it could not be whole again. A week later, on a quiet rooftop, Lucifer sat alone at a simple piano that did not exist the day before. The city wind moved around him. His fingers pressed a few keys softly. The notes were plain, clean, almost tired. He looked out at Tokyo's lights like he was watching a living thing breathe. Behind him, Ryuk appeared, floating with his arms crossed. "You really did it," Ryuk said, annoyed. "You ruined the game." Lucifer didn't look back. "I ended one game," he said. Ryuk snorted. "Humans will start another," he said. Lucifer's mouth curved slightly. "Yes," he said. "They always do." Ryuk hovered closer. "The king won't forget you," he said. Lucifer finally glanced at him, eyes calm. "Good," Lucifer said. "Let him remember I said no." Ryuk's grin tried to return but didn't fully make it. "So what now?" he asked. Lucifer looked back at the city. Now, he said, they live with what they chose. He thought of Soichiro's shaking hands, Lel's cold focus, Misa's broken face, Light's hunger. He pressed one more note, then another. Not pretty, not dramatic, just real. Far below, on a different street, a small group of people took down a wing symbol from a wall. Others painted it back up somewhere else. Stories didn't die easily. Lucifer's gaze stayed steady. He spoke softly, like he was speaking to the city itself. "Freedom is not clean," he said, "but it's yours." He let the last note fade. Then, with the same calm that had terrified police bullets and Shinigami laws, he asked the question again, quiet, simple, and honest. "What do you truly desire?"